Buying a home? Jet Closing can save you time, money, and stress. Visit jetclosing.com today. And by Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. Getting you set game 3 of the 4-game set. We take a look now at the Jack in the Box Mariners starting lineups right here from Safeco Field tonight. We got a change at the top, Mr. Val.
Yeah, D. Gordon, after he had rolled head ankle, Gene Segura takes over for him at the top of the lineup. Mitch Haniger with a couple of good hits last night. Good to see that. He had been struggling since the All-Star break, as has Segura. Segura hitting only .216 since the break. We need to get those guys going. And Nelson Cruz DHing and hitting fourth. Nelly is one of those guys who is carrying this ball club offensively right now, and they need some more from him. Kyle Seager hitting sixth. And Kyle, again, with 2 hits last night, a couple of balls hit right on the button. That's a good sign because the M's need to get him going.
Now Romine at second for Gordon. As for the Blue Jays, again, they're trying to win 3 straight, win a series here at Safeco Field. Grichuk, who had 4 hits last night leading off. Travis, a big 2-run home run as well. Smoke, we know all about him. Pilar is back. His first game was last night coming off the DL. So the 9 for the Blue Jays up against James Paxton today. Again, the last time they faced him in May, they couldn't get anything going, as in no hits, no runs, no nothing. Paxton trying to break that 4-game skid against the Jays here tonight as we get you set for first pitch. Again, it was a beautiful day. Come on out, enjoy Seafarer. Here's Elliott Bay. Come out to Safeco Field. What a picturesque setting. It's Jays and Mariners coming up on Root Sports.
Step to the
and a miss.
Flowers step to the plate with the bases jammed.
Into the glove of Dan Wilson, who hangs on to it.
We love the old video of our players cast, the guys up in the booth getting you set. Again, the Blue Jays, Mariners game 3 of the 4-game set. Our second players cast, and why not? You want to break a skid, you bring in Mike Blowers, Ryan Rowland-Smith, and of course Dan the Man, a catcher, a pitcher, an infielder. I would say, guys, that you've got everything covered tonight. We're ready to have some fun and watch this guy throw.
Well, that's going to be the point, Brad. And yeah, James Paxton coming off a strong outing. We've talked about the no-hitter against Toronto, but in his last outing against Houston, Ryan, 7 innings, 3 hits, did not allow an earned run.
Yeah.
Threw 82 pitches. After the back situation that he had, it looked like he was back to full strength and healthy.
Yeah, it looks like it. And you mentioned the pitch count. That was something, 18 days with nothing. There was no rehab games, no outings in Tacoma, no sim games. It was basically just strap it on and go 18 days into it. So the thing I liked about him last time out was the velocity was there from the first pitch. Sometimes we see James, he's trying to get that feel for the mechanics, and he can feel for that a little bit. Even though he's a power pitcher, you want to see that velo right out of the gates.
And Dan, I think, talked a lot about the no-hitter. Here he is against the same team again. I guess you just don't change anything, see what they're going to do.
Absolutely. I think you make Toronto adjust to you. 5 of the guys that were a part of that no-hitter are in the lineup again tonight. So to me, Pax and Z probably just going out there. This one ripped down the line, just foul. But I think they're going out there with a similar game plan. Let's take it right back to them, and let's make Toronto hitters adjust to what James Paxton is doing. They weren't able to do it in Toronto, and hopefully they're not able to do it again tonight.
You look at Toronto, and they've had their struggles against left-handed pitching. Against left-handed starters this year, they are 13-26. Against left-handers in general, hitting just .233 overall. So I would expect for James to be really aggressive early in this ball game.
Yeah, one thing for me that I'm going to watch for, obviously early in the game especially, is a little bit of the emotion. He's got the no-hitter that he's coming off of a great outing last time against Houston. He's got a lot of Canadians in the stands tonight. I mean, there's got to be a lot of juices flowing for him, and that may affect his feel around the strike zone a little bit, especially early on, Ryan.
Yeah, and hey, look, the Maple Grove, we were looking for it. We couldn't find it in the pregame. Where are they sitting? There they are, up down the third base line.
We'll take a look at the standings, and right now you can see the Mariners right now in the American League West in 3rd place, 6.5 behind Houston. And Oakland has really played well. They've been the hottest team in baseball, and the Mariners find themselves a 1.5 games behind them. So we'll watch how those games go tonight, but more importantly, hopefully the Mariners can snap a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, the Oakland A's. Gary Hill Jr. and I just got done with that post-game show over on the radio side, and sure enough, what was it, 13th, 14th inning? A little bit of that magic they've got at the moment.
Yeah.
Is that sustainable? When you're doing all the scoreboard watching, glancing up, anytime you're in that race and you keep just glancing up and you keep seeing those scores change, we just saw it change again. The Oakland A's took the lead here in the 4th inning over in Detroit.
Well, it didn't take long. Devin Travis, after the no-hitter, picks up a double. He really swung the bat well in last night's ball game as he looked like a curveball down into the corner. For Travis last night, a couple of hits, including a home run. He drove in 3 runs last night. So he looks like he's going to be a hot hitter for the Jays. Again, a breaking ball hits it past Kyle down into the corner.
You get that feel the Blue Jays are going to be aggressive against the guy. Last time I saw him through a no-hitter. And that breaking ball for James Paxton is really that equalizer. You see sometimes with Pax throughout the year in 2018 that a lot of foul balls, a lot of missing with that breaking ball, having to go back to that fastball and the emergency hacks, and that's what gets that pitch count up. You're going to see a lot more aggressive swings here from the Blue Jays.
I think that's an interesting point, Brian. I think one of the things, these are big league hitters. They're going to catch up to the velocity, and there's no question about it. To me, one of the keys for Pax this year has been the use of his breaking ball, the ability to use it early in the count, especially the curveball, and then the ability to bury it when he has to, and then also that slider. He's been able to bury that from time to time and get that punch out at the back foot of a right-handed hitter or away from a lefty.
Yeah.
So that really that mix of breaking balls is very key for him.
Yeah, especially look, he calls it a cutter. I'm going to call it a slider. It breaks like a slider. I don't care, Pax. When you start seeing that mixed in to that highlight reel of those strikeouts, that's when you know he's in good shape, because he's showing those 2 looks of those breaking balls, and you have that feel. That's when you can get rid of those emergency hacks, and that's when you start seeing these guys missing them by 2 feet.
Well, another good sign is that last fastball at 96 miles an hour. I think for him, especially a team that has struggled, I think he's going to pitch inside a lot with his fastball, so he can get to the slider, Dan, that you were talking about. Opponents hitting just 151 on the slider. Looks like a pretty good curveball.
Yeah, good curveball there. Starts in the zone and then breaks down, and obviously the off speed, 13, 14 miles an hour less than the fastball. They're way out in front of that thing.
Yeah, that's the elevated fastball right here. I'm calling it up in the strike zone. Look like another slider right there.
Yeah, it was a slider. They wanted to go down, and then he left it out over the plate. It's a no-hitter. Kyle made a couple of defensive plays to help out James in the no-hitter.
Good stuff by Z. That's going to be key, obviously, tonight. One of the big reasons we like catchers to be good blockers is so that James Paxton can do just that when he wants to and when he needs to. When he wants that pitch out of the zone, he's not afraid to throw it in the dirt, throw it down there and bury it. Z's been so good at that with all his guys all season long, blocking like crazy.
Is that fastball up and in? You said it too, that confidence you have to be able to bury that slider, especially when you got plus stuff like James Paxton, because you got a runner on second base right now. He scoots over to third base, different situation and a different sequence to whoever you're facing.
Teoscar Hernandez stepping in. He's had a good series so far. You want to be careful with him. It's the reason why they've moved him up in the lineup to hit cleanup today. Pretty good athlete, runs well. He's really hit the ball hard in the first 2 games. Not sure about that. That looked like a swing. James wanted it to be a swing. They checked on it.
This is another breaking ball too. Pack's throwing a ton of breaking balls early, and again, these Blue Jays, he knows how aggressive they have been and how aggressive they're going to be against a guy like James Paxton.
Now Z out to give him a quick talk. Again, I think maybe this plays to that emotional piece a little bit. Calm him down. This is where we need that ground ball. We need that breaking ball down in the zone. Get him out front, get the ground ball, get back in the dugout, and let the offense start taking over. To your point, Mike, lots of fastballs in early, trying to keep these, especially the right-handers, off the plate.
Typically when he throws his fastball inside, he's trying to throw it for a strike, and that's been a little bit of a struggle for him here in the first. Once he dials in that inside corner is when he's at his best. Probably why Mike tried to go to the other side of the plate, trying to find something to help him out. 18 pitches, just 9 strikes so far for James. See Hernandez with his 16 home runs, 5 for 9 in the series. Plays Hernandez straight up.
That's a good sign. 3-0, swinging and missing that pitch by a lot. This is an offense. Look, they're in the bottom third offensively in Major League Baseball, but you know what? No one is immune to a 3-0 fastball like that.
Well, to your point, a good 3-0 fastball away from him, not down there center cut, but a good, well-located fastball. Another one right there, 3-1. Some good location on those heaters right there, and maybe the outside corner is where he starts with it right now to find that location.
Well, just trying to get through this first inning right now. So good news too is both the fastballs on the outside corner at 96 miles an hour. So he's not easing into this one. He's turning it loose.
You go breaking ball or heater here, guys?
No, fastball, middle up. There you go.
97, his best fastball.
Love to see that ground ball right here. That'd be such a lift.
Yeah.
Get the crowd into it early. There it is.
Just what he ordered right there. Well, he had to throw a lot of pitches, 22 pitches, but in the end, he gets out of the inning without giving up a run. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. And by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 191, investing in our future. Welcome back to Safeco Field. Mariners getting out of a jam in the top of the first. Gene Segura going to lead things off for Seattle.
Yeah, Marco Estrada starting this game for the Blue Jays. He's had a bit of an up and down year, walking a ton of guys lately, but he's a 4-8 record, 4.9 ERA. This is a guy who really relies on that back and forth, changing speeds, fastball, changeup. He's about 50-50 on both of those pitches, can throw it in any count, but the fly ball rate has been up. This is a good matchup for the Mariners tonight.
You would think so. You mentioned it. Not a lot of ground balls from the ball in the air, and trying to get the Mariners offense going. Dan, you and I were talking about Estrada before the game, and the ERA just under 5 for him. But his fastball on average is at 89 miles an hour. You can almost sit in between to try to handle that changeup, or even look for the changeup and then adjust to the fastball because it's only 89 miles an hour.
Well, I think you're right. I think that, you know, when you're used to seeing 95 plus pretty much on a daily basis, that 89 is a lot less than that, and he's going to throw his changeup off of that fastball. So, you know, I think it's not out of the ordinary to be sitting somewhere in between, like you're mentioning, and you're still going to be able to do something with that heater, and you might be all over the changeup when he throws it. And he likes to throw that changeup a lot.
Well, and especially if he leaves one up in the zone,
yes,
you can be on it. There is a pretty good separation, though. His changeup is at 77. Again, his fastball 89. Narc Span hitting second in the lineup. D. Gordon getting the evening off, so Segura going to lead things off. Then it's Span. I think it's normal again. That's Mitch Haniger, Nelson Cruz.
There's nothing worse. Marco Estrada's going through a little bit of a stretch right now where more hard contact, more line drives. There's nothing worse as a pitcher when you're going back and forth, changing speeds, fastball changeup, and you've seen these settled in swings, guys who are just stepping in. There's no off, everything's balanced. There's no little off balance emergency hacks whatsoever. It can be tough because it just starts to mess with your confidence.
Well, we talked how important it is for James Paxton to throw inside. To me, a guy like Estrada has to be able to use both sides of the plate, make hitters aware inside to make that changeup a little bit better that he likes to throw. And he's going to have his location tonight as well. Otherwise, when he starts making mistakes, these guys are going to be all over it.
That was a pretty good changeup right there, well located down and away from Denard. Watching Mitch Haniger today during batting practice, and to me, as if he was basically just staying in the middle of the field. He's been swinging the bat much better lately. Seeing this series 4 for 7, that's a good sign for the Mariners. They need to get him going again. It was a tough July. He never lost command of the strike zone, though. He didn't chase much. He was still able to work in his walks, but it looked like he just really wanted to line the ball back in the middle, which is, you know, Dan, that's always a good plan.
Well, and I think when you feel like your timing is off, and I think that's what Mitch has been trying to find lately, especially is his timing. I think the middle of the field is where you want to go.
Well, that's taking care of a fastball. Unfortunately, he's way out in front of it, 88, ricocheting off the upper deck.
But using that center of the field is such a good plan. If you get out in front a little bit, you pull it. If you're a little late on it, you get the hit to right field. But I think that's going to be Mitch's plan going forward here, to find his timing.
Estrada will also mix in a cutter and a curveball. That's on occasion. Typically, it's fastball changeup. Good play by Estrada, fielding his position. Well, Mariners go down 1-2-3. No score after 1. from last night.
Marco Gonzalez, this is the first time run he gave up to Russell Martin. You thought you had him struck out the pitch before, not getting it, and both of these are off the cutter, Dan.
Yeah, Devin Travis gets him the second time, and I tell you what, it's pitches in the middle of the plate.
Yeah.
Ryan, you know, with Marco Gonzalez, he's got to have that both corners of the plate. When he leaves it in the middle is when he gets hurt, and those ones found the middle of the plate, and they found the ballpark as well.
We were talking on the radio side yesterday prior to the game, talking about how good that cutter is and talking about, you know what, he can make a mistake middle with that pitch and still get that bad swing. Sure enough, I jinxed it.
Way to go, Ryan.
I need to knock on wood. I didn't.
It happens, but it has been an excellent pitch for him, an important pitch, and he has really pitched well this year. For James, ended up throwing 22 pitches in the top of the first. Dan, you were wanting the double play ball. He was able to get that. What do we look for now?
You know, I think, again, you're seeing a ton of foul balls. You're seeing a lot more swings early in the count. The curveball, we talked about this in the first inning, is going to be key for James Paxton. He throws up in 90s. When he's on, and even 95, 96 is still good enough. Right there, that pitch, that fastball up in the strike zone, that is going to be set up from that good breaking ball inside the strike zone.
And I think, too, being able to find his release point on that fastball, to be able to go in when he wants to and be able to go away when he needs to, and complement that again with that curveball, Ryan, like you're talking about. That's where James Paxton is so effective. But he's got to have that fastball, and he's got to have that breaking ball. And I think as this game continues to go on, he begins to settle in. That's what we're going to see from him.
Yeah, Pax talks a lot about extension. Anytime he's doing good things and the velo's up, talks about how he had good extension. There's that breaking ball, just missed. But even with the back injury too, he said, you know, as long as I'm getting through my pitches, he even said that too, coming off the injury. I think for him, the less he gets in that feel stage, there's nothing worse when, if you're a power pitcher, a guy who throws 88 miles an hour, if you start feeling for those mechanics a little too much, you start losing that aggressiveness. When James is aggressive and he's getting through that pitch, he's in really good shape.
It's one of the things he was talking about after his last outing. Again, he had the sore back, missed 18, 19 days, and threw 82 pitches. But the first thing he talked about is, I felt healthy, I felt good, I was able to let it rip. And when he starts talking about that, then you're in pretty good shape.
There it is. Like that right there. 97 up at the eye level. You're not going to do too much with that pitch at all.
Well, this is where aggressiveness can hurt you right here if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. Fastballs up in the zone when you're getting so aggressive. 3-2 pitch up top. Clearly out of the strike zone, but you're being aggressive and you're swinging at bad pitches. And Pax is going to be able to use that to his advantage here early on.
At 97 up out of the zone, no chance.
Yeah, no way.
I think one of the things, too, is we've talked a lot here over the last 2-3 weeks about the Mariners offense and some of the struggles that they've had. But when you're trying to get things turned around, sometimes a special pitching performance can help you on that end too, because you're posting zeros along the way, letting the offense get on track. When you're behind and your offense is struggling, that's when they start to press and try to maybe do too much. So for James, if he can get on a nice run here tonight and post some zeros, let the offense get on track. And there's another high fastball at 97 miles an hour. He is feeling it.
And you can see him beginning to dial it in as we speak. I mean, 3 pitches for Martin and 3 really quality pitches. Finishes him with the fastball up. He's getting dialed in, boys. Yeah,
and the pitch before this was that breaking ball inside the strike zone. Again, that changes that eye level, and that's when you know he's in good shape. And this is what I love. If I'm not pitching that day, I always hear you hitters come in and say, hey, what do you got on him? Oh, the fastball looks like it's got a little bit of sink, or this and that. I always sit there and think, okay, that's a good sign, because you know that things are getting in the back of those hitters' heads, knowing that, you know what, if it's that cutter in on the hands and you constantly hear that comment, you know it's starting to trickle in the fact that you have to protect against that one pitch, and all of a sudden that second, third at bat gets a lot tougher.
You're not getting in the hitters' heads, I can tell you that. What we're doing is we're making adjustments to you. Segura with the backhand to play, long throw across the diamond. What a stretch at first. Great play. A quick inning for Paxton.
Big lift for him.
Time for our Coors Light refreshing finish. And Diaz, I thought you might have a hit. Gene Segura had other ideas. Guys, the defense was so good behind James Paxton last time out, and I imagine it's going to be critical again this evening.
You're right about that, Angie, and I think the main thing too is, look, you think about the defense and the plays and saving runs, but it also saves on your pitch count. With James throwing 22 pitches in the first, he's able to get off the field quickly because of some solid defense behind him after a couple of strikeouts.
Absolutely. You could see him settling in, and that's a big play right there. You could see him coming off the field, you know, giving Gene Segura a little pump because he knew how big that play really was for him mentally to get off the field and you know, work at that pitch count, keep it down.
I think one of the things too, when you look at the Mariners offense, is Nelson Cruz, and he's been hot lately. Yeah. And for me, everything starts in the middle of your lineup and works your way either towards the front or towards the bottom of the lineup. And so I don't think it's a coincidence now. Haniger's swinging better. We're seeing Segura start to hit the ball better. The guys are starting to change things around a little bit. Kyle Seager swinging better, and I think it starts with Nelson, and he is squaring it up and hitting the ball out of the ballpark, which is a good sign for this offense overall.
And Marco Estrada just got away with a mistake on that last pitch, and this was when Nelson Cruz was struggling a little bit early on in July, right before the All-Star break. He was just missing those mistakes. Those 2-0 pitches just wasn't quite getting to that pitch, and now different story.
Pretty good changeup.
Estrada really seems to like to use that top part of the strike zone, try to induce that fly ball. Mariners really going to need to stay on top of that to be able to drive that ball out of the ballpark. It's a nice combination when you throw that fastball up and then that changeup comes off of it. They both look very, very similar coming out of the hand.
That's a pretty good take. 3-2, 3-2. You're geared up. It's your first at bat. And to take a changeup that is just down, barely down out of the strike zone is a good sign.
And Estrada's going through this a little bit right now. Last couple of games, a ton of walks, a ton of free passes because he's pitching away from that contact. It's probably a situation where, you know what, that changeup's getting hit a little bit harder this year, so it starts to snowball, and then you're going to see more 3-2 pitching outside the strike zone and trying to expand.
Well, and the other thing too is Nelson Cruz is 6 for 13 with a couple of home runs against him, and so I'm sure he's aware of that. Kyle really swung the bat well last night. A double, a base hit. A situation where a couple of runners on last night hit a line drive. Unfortunately, it was right at the right fielder. And also drove in a run.
We saw a lot of that last night. Guys crushing balls right at people. Is that the most frustrating thing? When you go 0 for 4 and you hit 3 balls?
I think it is, and it's one of the things. I was talking to Edgar about it today, Dan, and his first thing to me, he goes, I look right at the quality of the at-bats, and I'm happy with where they're at, and they're starting to come out of this thing, and I like the way they're approaching things. So you have to look at the positives, I think, when you're struggling.
Absolutely. I'm glad Edgar's okay with him, because I know the guys are driving him crazy when you hit the ball hard.
Of course.
And nothing to show for it.
But I think it goes back to, I asked him today, when you have a team that has struggled and it looks like there's guys that are starting to turn things around, what is the message? Is it individual? Is it as a team? He said, as a team, I tried to just make it as simple. These guys have looked at so much that they changed the defense up. They look at so much video and all these other things, the numbers and all that stuff. He goes, I just want them to get a good pitch to hit and not to overswing. Don't try to do too much with it. Let's start from there and we'll work our way back. And that's what we're starting to see. Kyle with a drive out towards center field. Catch it right in front of the warning track.
Well, Mike, you and I were talking about that earlier a little bit, and just, you know, it seems like when things are going a little rough for you offensively, it's so easy to go to mechanics. It's so easy to begin to try to change your approach and really
pick out every little thing in the video.
Yeah, go into the video room. And I think sometimes, and we talked about this, making it and keeping it as simple as possible really is a good plan. And it sounds like that's what Edgar's trying to do with these guys. Let's just keep it simple. Get a good pitch, put that good swing on it. You guys, like we've mentioned, they've put the work in all season.
Right.
It's there. Their swing is there. They just got to get a good pitch to hit.
It almost goes back to what Scott talks about all the time, and that is hit the reset button. In other words, you've done all this other stuff. Sometimes you just start over for just the real basics of it. It's hard to get there, because, you know, all of a sudden there's pressure at 7:05 when the games are going to start, but you have to find a way to relax and just not try to force the issue if you can.
Right. And that's quite frankly sometimes why you see a manager give a guy a day off, because he knows he needs to hit that reset button. Let him get a chance to sit down at 7:05, watch a game, not have the pressure, and then he comes out the next day fresh mentally and ready to roll.
Or even what Scott has done over the last week, and that has changed the lineup up. Just move some guys around a little bit just to give them a different look too. See if this is going to reach the stands. I think it does. The guys seem to be really aggressive on the high fastball right now, and why not? He's elevating. We've talked about him being a fly ball pitcher, and at 89, 88 miles an hour, they should be able to handle that. They're going to square that pitch up as this game moves on.
Seems like it's just a matter of time.
You know, Australia getting in some hitters counts a lot early. You see Nelson Cruz, even Kyle Seager just missing, and that's where that off-balance swing comes in when he's trying to change speeds on you.
Ryan so far this year, 21 home runs, 55 RBIs for him. Run on a changeup that was down out of the strike zone. It's just interesting too watching Estrada. He's not trying to necessarily work the edges of the plate. It is just the back and forth with changing speeds.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like changeups, especially right on right changeups, are better middle of the plate, but down below the strike zone, they look more like a strike coming in, and you get a lot more swings that way.
Another changeup. Diaz handles it, no problem. So will you, in a situation like that, Dan, will you set up in the middle of the plate?
Yeah, I mean, if that's, absolutely. You may shade one side or the other, but for the most part, you're pretty much middle of the plate. You're going to give that target nice and low. You may tap the ground to kind of remind him, hey, let's get some good extension on this pitch. Let's keep it down below the zone, but let's kind of aim for middle of the plate and down and get that swing and strike.
There's not a whole lot of guys too, even at this level, who go change up both sides of the plate. Really, it's really that one area down and away to make that look like it's a mistake.
Right.
Make it look like it's a fastball up in the strike zone, and obviously the speed takes care of it.
Maben with good numbers also. Just 7 at bats, but 3 hits, one of them a home run against Estrada. See his last 10 games, he's really been swinging the bat well. A couple of hits with the Mariners so far.
Russell Martin, one of the better catchers in the league at framing and getting strikes. You'll see him moving his glove all night long. Does a nice job bringing strikes back into the strike zone, and he gets a lot of strikes for his pitchers.
Seems to have that calming effect too. I mean, never spoke to the guy, but just watching him has that calming effect on his pitcher. I mean, that is something you cannot put a number on when you have a guy behind the plate who can do that.
Pretty good fastball on the inside corner. So the Mariners through 2 innings before their first hit.
Take a look at our Verizon player profile, and the Texas Rangers are up next. And one guy you have to be careful with is this guy, Rougned Odor. By the way, the other night he became the 4th player in the live ball era with 5 walks and a home run in a game. Gentlemen, the others, Hank Aaron, Mark McGuire, and Edgar Martinez.
Yeah, he is hot. Mariners are going to see him. He was off to just a terrible start this year. Really slow start, but things have turned around, so they'll have to be careful with him. The good news for James Paxton, looks like he locked it in last inning, a couple of strikeouts. 22 pitches in the first, 13 in the second. Well, Ryan, you said something at the end of the last half inning, and that was a catcher having a calming effect. Why didn't that ever work with you? I watched you pitch a lot, and you always had your hair on fire. Who's calming you down?
Look, that had nothing to do with the catcher, put it that way. That was just me. I don't know what it was, man. Put me on the spot right now. Yeah, well, it was one of those things.
Let's just say there was an intensity about you.
Yeah, well, it was fun pitching that way. I know that sounds crazy, and I constantly had pitching coaches say, look, you have to be even keel, this and that, but it was fun when you were extreme high, extreme low. I don't know how good it worked. I mean, look at some of my numbers, and maybe it didn't work. But when you can, when you can do that, and you can bear that, have that intensity and go out, and when you do perform, it's a lot of fun pitching that way.
And I think the point to it, though, Dan, is you're dealing with a lot of different people out there, and their attitudes and the way they look at it and the way they go about their business are different. You have to know that.
Yeah, that's the big key, really, is that catchers are somewhat of a psychologist. They get to know their pitchers pretty well, and some guys, quite frankly, Ryan, some guys pitch better when they're charged up, and they have a little
an edge to them.
Yeah, exactly. And they throw strikes. They throw more quality strikes that way. They get after it. They get after the strike zone a little bit better. And then there are some guys where you really need to pull them back. And I think of Randy Johnson. A lot of times he could get away from himself with emotion and kind of take off. And it was time to sort of bring him back and reel him in. So catcher's job.
To do that?
Not very well. Many times I try to walk out there, he just waved me back. Go back behind the plate, but you really have to understand that push and pull with a pitcher and what his personality is like, and when you need to pull him in and when you need to let him go.
Well, the Mariners have had 2 really good left-handers this year. Marco Gonzalez last night. He has an intensity about him. And then you had James, who looks like he's just playing catch out there. But it's effective for them because it really goes along with their personalities and the way they go about their business.
I think, too, when you can have those conversations before the game, you go through the lineup. If I've got a guy back there talking about, if I'm feeling a little insecure about a certain pitch, good slider right there, cutter, slider, whatever Pax wants to call it, middle of the strike zone, that's a good sign. But and I'm going to admit this too. If I've got that catcher in that meeting talking about, hey, that cutter was nasty last time out. Hey, let's try and use that against this guy. Or hey, that curveball, man. If you dump that in for a strike, they got no chance. If it's that kind of conversation I'm having before the game, I'm like, okay, I am pretty good. But I've had catchers, and Dan, I'm sure you were the opposite to this. I've had catchers saying, hey, man, look, that breaking ball, you cannot throw it to this guy in this camp. It will get crushed. I swear. And you go out there just thinking, oh man, you were straight away on the defensive as soon as you get out onto that mound.
Well, certainly the language that you use in your pregame meeting is very important, but it truly is somewhat of a tightrope act, trying to keep guys motivated at times and trying to calm them down other times, and that's part of the grind of being a catcher is that mental part of it. And I think Mike Zunino does such a great job and works very well with Pat.
This is it out towards left. Span going back, not going to get to it. Short off the wall. That's going to be a double. Just 2 hits for the Jays, but both of them extra bases. And James has done a pretty good job on Pilar. And he'll pick up a double with 1 out.
That was straight guessing right there. You could see that pitch, the reaction, 96, 97 up in the strike zone.
Probably up out of the zone.
Yeah.
The only way that you're going to hit that is you have to cheat. You have to start your swing early and have an idea that you're going to get a fastball, and you're swinging at it no matter where it is. Back to the top of the lineup. This will be the 2nd time through for the Jays. We talked about Randy We see it from time to time, and Mike will do it. He's really good at communicating with the pitchers, but they're all different. How much would you talk to Randy in between innings, like in the dugout, if you didn't have to hit?
You know, I think there was, you had to sort of pick your times, because he was kind of one of those guys that's locked in and doesn't want to communicate too much, or didn't want to at the time. But if you had something that really, you know, you could see behind the plate, maybe a hitter was making an adjustment, or you knew something that was coming up, something that you wanted to talk about, a hitter that was going to be up in the next inning. If you had something that was legitimate, you needed to go and talk to him. And I think it's important that all catchers can do that, that they get a chance in between innings to talk to their pitchers about what happened in the past inning, what's coming up in the next inning, and then you know, sort of get your game plan together for that next inning, and then go out there and do it. And I think that's, you know, you have your game plan, but you have to make adjustments to your game plan, and that's when you make those adjustments is between innings, and that's those conversations that you have. You know, hey, this guy is not going according to how we thought he was going to go tonight. We need to change it up a little bit, and that's when those conversations take place.
And probably something to what Ryan was talking about too. Maybe on a given night, one pitch is better than the other.
Yes.
And maybe your plan wasn't to use that as much, but you have to go to it. There's a base hit into left. Span charges it quickly. They're going to hold him up right away.
And both these hits with 2 strikes, hard hit balls. That was a slider that left up.
Well, to your point, you can see Mike set it down and in, but leaves it right in the middle of the plate. Not a lot of bite to that. Looked a little flat that time. Typically, he will be able to bury that pitch, but it didn't happen to him right there.
Well, that slider at 90 miles an hour really needs to get down out of the strike zone and in, and it just wasn't able to get there.
Good fastball in on his hands. Travis with a double his first time up. Had a couple of hits last night, including a home run.
A couple of good fastballs there. 97 in on the hands. Used to call those a saw blade.
Yeah, and he right now he can do whatever he wants.
Yes.
As a hitter, you're not sure what's going to happen at this point. It's difficult to cover everything. Certainly doesn't have to throw him a strike.
This would be a great spot for a punch out. Again, tried to go up top with the heater. So
that's a good pitch.
Yeah, throwing 3 good heaters. You know, like you said, you can go back in with the heater again, or you can use that breaking ball off of the fastball and bury it below the zone.
Goes back to what you were talking about earlier. This is when it's really important to understand that Mike is back there and he will keep the ball in front of him if you throw it in the dirt. There it is.
There it is.
That would be a wild pitch. Kept it in front of him, but the runner will advance. So I'll take the double play out of the equation. Wild pitch.
I think you see too with Pax and that pitch. Tried to bury, tried to do a little bit too much. He seems spike that pitch because he's trying to overcompensate because of the slider he left up from Grichuk the last at bat. You get that feeling where you're second guessing that pitch a little bit. Probably why you saw him throw that 0-2 fastball to Travis the pitch before that as well.
He's going to try to get a strikeout here.
Yeah, really key with that double play now, not in order to get that punch out right here.
Looked like he tried to climb the ladder again. It was towards the top of the strike zone, but not up out of the zone.
Right now it goes back to that feel of that breaking ball. That's why he's seeing all these foul balls. We've seen this from time to time with Pax, where he doesn't quite have the command of that breaking ball.
That time it was the curveball, not the slider.
Yeah, the curveball, even with that pitch right there. Even though that was emergency swing, the swings before that were pretty comfortable, and that's something that these hitters are sitting dead red on that fastball.
Could go to the cutter here with 2 strikes. Hasn't seen it yet.
Base hit back up the middle, will score both runs, and it was the fastball again on the inside corner. Travis has been rough on the Mariners.
A lot of fastballs with 2 strikes in this at bat, and that comes down to, you talk about in-game adjustments on certain guys, but it can go the other way too. If you don't have quite the feel for that pitch, or you don't want to get burnt on leaving a pitch out over the plate like you did the at bat before, you're going to rely on that fastball a little bit too heavy, and you can see those swings are really comfortable even with 2 strikes.
Well, right now you have to think about his pitch count for one. He's at 57 pitches, 40 strikes overall, so he's in the strike zone. Mel making a trip out to the mound and help him get out of this situation after giving up a couple of runs. Justin Smoke is due up, and if he can get him to hit the ball on the ground, he's a double play. Does not run well. Yeah, Ryan Healy knows he's been hot, trying to get a little bit of that.
Travis, that's a guy. He's the guy who was becoming an established player until he had that knee injury last year. He was putting up some serious numbers, and then he had the knee injury, and then he cooled off a little bit. But you're starting to see him show his potential as being an established guy here with the Blue Jays.
To what you were talking about earlier, Pack starting him off with a slow curveball this time, get ahead. For Travis, he drove in 3 runs last night, a couple of runs here tonight.
Oh, Mike, what was your approach? I know for me on a first pitch breaking ball, I saw spin. I was, I think a lot of these hitters, and that's why Pax goes to it so much. As soon as they see spin, they're kind of in take mode almost right away, unless it's just an absolute hanger. But for me, almost always would I take that first pitch breaking ball.
I think you have to look for the fastball early.
Dan, that's good to know. If we ever play an alumni game out here at Safeco Field, just breaking balls all day.
Spin it early.
That's right. You too, Mike.
I think you probably only have a couple of good ones left in you, so I'm not too worried about it.
Don't go to the well too many times. I might be setting you up.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice double play all the way around. A little bit concerned with Segura was sitting back on it, but a quick turn from Romine at second base.
Coming to bat, you can meet Mitch Haniger. Less than a week left to donate to Fred Hutch for your chance to meet the Mariners star. Visit fredhutch.org/give. It's going to be Zanino Romine, who just turned that nifty double play Segura for the Mariners in the third. And guys, the Blue Jays got a couple off of James Paxton. It'd be nice to clap right back here.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's nice to go back and answer, and at least pick up a run, especially with some of the struggles. The Mariners right now looking for their first hit. And Estrada, right to the scouting report, it's been fastball changeup back and forth with those two pitches, mixing in a couple of cutters.
And this is the guy, Mike Zunino, you just want to see snap out of the slump he's been in. But it's been baby steps. He's hitting 300 off righties the last 10 games, 250 the last 10 as well overall. So baby steps with him, starting to get that feel for it. Slowly coming out of it. Hopefully Estrada can leave this 1-2 pitch up out over the plate, and he crushes one of that up above the Edgar sign out there in left field.
Well, he's out in front of a changeup right there.
Ooh, there it was.
A good swinging fastball. He started, Dan, I think what we were talking about earlier, and on the last road trip, every at bat, starting the game, he was taking pitches until he had a strike on him, and then he'd get aggressive his next few at bats, and it really paid off for him. And I think that's a pretty good approach because it slows things down, just back to the basics of it. Let me see the baseball first and get some timing going, and it's helped Mike lately.
Yeah, I think it is key to see some pitches, and a lot of times I know sometimes when you are going good, sometimes you can get over aggressive and start swinging at bad pitches, and sometimes when you're going bad, the same thing happens. You begin to get less aggressive, and I tell you, he is a guy, you're right, Ryan, that we'd love to see get going, because he has so much pop down there at the bottom part of the order, and just huge. It lifts that offense so much when he can drive guys in down at the bottom of the order.
Yeah, we saw that early in the year too. You're talking about coming in, facing a lineup. Look, as a starting pitcher, you come check out who you're facing, and hopefully that big left in the middle of the lineup, if your left hand is taken out, you're like, oh sweet, I can work around that. But early in the year, that's what they'll get. They're getting that production even down the bottom end, and it was rare too. Usually, you get through that middle part of the lineup, and then you're like, okay, now I can be a little bit more aggressive. You couldn't do that early in the year, and if they can find that, get a couple guys hitting some memos, big home runs, that changes everything.
This team is 44-13 when they score 4 or more runs. And to your point, Ryan, you have to get some production at the bottom of your lineup, because that's the difference. We've seen Nelson already, where he's driven in 3 runs in a game, but you know what? That's the only 3 runs that they ended up with. You have to get production up and down your lineup, and typically when you're struggling, that's part of the problem, is you're just not having that at the moment. So again, hopefully everything will feed off of Nelson's another fly ball out the left, routine fly ball out the left, but hopefully that'll start happening for these guys. The at-bats have been better. Now they just need to get paid off with some base hits and some runs. See what happens here. This will be the second time through the lineup. Segura leading off tonight. Fastball on the inner half. I think the other thing too, and I was talking to Edgar today about it, and he said that he basically went and reminded the guys and wanted them to think about the first 3 months of the season and what was happening, that they are good hitters and that they were doing a lot of good things. It's just been the last month has been bad for them, but they can get it turned around, that they're more that type of team. And it's one of those things, and this part of the job of a coach is constantly trying to give these guys confidence and that it will turn around. This is just a stretch you're going through, but as a player, you're feeling it more than anything else, and you need to see some results.
Yeah, no question. And funny, back in the day, Below, that meant going down, getting Carl Hamilton to pull up your dig me tape, right? Put it in, and you look at all the hits that you had.
We all have them.
That's right.
You have to.
Just to remind you, hey, you know, we can do this. We can do this.
My tape was short, but I think it got worn out to the point where the tape started rolling out of the thing. Tried to use that thing too much.
Just missing with a fastball.
I think too, I mean, that even has an effect at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you walk into the clubhouse, because this is a tight-knit group and you walk in and you want to have that presence, you want to have that noise in the clubhouse when you walk in, that good feel. And sometimes when you go 0 for 4, or you give up a 4 spot or whatever it is, when you're having a good year and all of a sudden you start going through a skid, the head goes down. All of a sudden you don't want to make eye contact because you feel it, and you feel like you're letting every single guy down in that clubhouse.
Pretty good battle right here. 7 pitches so far. Well, I was saying it, and I've said it the last couple of days, and Danny, you know this too, is as a hitter, if you're struggling and the team is winning, it's easier to deal with. But to your point, Ryan, when you're struggling, the team is losing, you're always looking at yourself that I have to get this thing turned around. There's the pressure in that. Easy fly ball out to right field. This will end the inning. Mariners still looking for their first hit. The end of 3. It's the Jays 2, Mariners nothing.
Welcome back. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. The Blue Angels performing once again in the skies above the shores of Lake Washington. And guys, many years ago I had the opportunity to go up with the Blue Angels. Humble brag, not so humble brag, did not pass out, did not yak. Would you go up if given the opportunity?
I think that I would love to hear the stories about it, Angie, and that'll be good enough for me.
You know what? I did a show with Angie, and she told me about that, and she was telling me about the whole thing, and I was like, oh, I want to do that so badly. And then just a month ago, I was down at Knott's Berry Farm in California. I got on a roller coaster, and sure enough, did the blackout. Never had a blackout before. Got some motion sickness, and after that, I was like, no shot am I getting up there. Too soft. Angie, yeah, that's a good effort.
They have like a whole bunch of really cool things. Like I like the throw-up bags are called party bags.
There you go.
And you can actually pull the ejection handle, and they warn you. You better not do this unless you absolutely have to. But you're strapped into the ejection seat, and that is called bonus time.
That's awesome.
If you have to pull the ejection handle, but crazy. Let me ask you a question, guys, because whenever they sort of go overhead and they get you by surprise, I mean, it can scare you. And they're going to be overhead tomorrow during the game.
There'll be a bunch of guys that are definitely going to flinch and then hopefully shake it off right away and get back to the task at hand. Pretty good fastball in the inside corner. Pick up a strikeout for James. A couple of long innings for him. 22 pitches in the first, 28 pitches in the third. So He needs a couple of quick innings. His next pitch will be 70 for him as he works here in the 4th.
Yeah, that second inning was really nice. It really felt like he was putting things together. And then the 3rd inning a little bit rougher again for him. But maybe, you know, maybe they had that conversation in the dugout. Maybe now they're working some things out, and he's back to maybe the James Paxton we're used to. Good breaking ball right there to start off the hitter. I mean, this is what we're used to with Pax, and hopefully this is the inning that he gets it back going again.
I think getting the leadoff guy this inning, especially after that tough 3rd, because he didn't have the feel for that breaking ball, getting that leadoff guy out easily gives him a chance to try and settle in with that breaking ball a little bit. We saw a good 0-0 pitch right there, and you're starting to see more off-balance swings.
Another good breaking ball right there. You can see Solardi reaching for that, and I think that's the key. We talked about that being the key for him. He just hasn't had a great feel for it, but it looks like this inning the feel on the breaking ball is back.
That's a difference too. When things are going well or you're having a good year, if you don't have that feel, and look, it happens. Even for a guy like James Paxton, he has plus stuff, but it happens where you just don't quite have that feel. It could be 2 or 3 pitches that you don't quite get on top of that slider or on top of that breaking ball, get out in front. That can mess with your head. But the difference is a guy like Pax. They looked a little hazy on that one.
Well, I think he's going to be okay though. Shake his head a little bit, but a quick inning, which is exactly what he needed. Jays are ahead 2-0.
With you here at the Forward Sports Desk, and this is our 2nd Players Cast of the season. Happy that I get to play along in my little bit part. Now, one of the premier series of the summer is right around the corner. You can join the Mariners at Safeco Field August 17th through the 19th as they host the Dodgers for a summertime series of action-packed baseball. You also got fireworks. Head to Mariners.com to get your seats. So get you back upstairs, guys.
Thank you, Angie. All right, guys, 2nd time through the lineup. James Paxton, just 10 pitches to get through the top of the 4th, but it's time for these guys to make some adjustments to Estrada and get the offense going.
Absolutely. You know, I think he's really been effective with that fastball at the top of the zone, and maybe it's laying off that pitch a little bit, trying to get him down in the zone, but really has been able to stay up there, live up there a little bit, and has gotten the fly balls that he's so accustomed to getting.
One of the things that we've seen from him with his fastball and his changeup, and he starts Bernard off with a changeup. Do you ever go up and just sit on the changeup?
I mean, if he's throwing it, you might as well. And you know, the thing is you got to get one that's up in the zone, and it's good hitting when it's up there, though. That's no question about that.
I think you either do that, or again, it goes back to something you and I were talking about earlier, Dan, and that is just your overall approach. And sometimes trying to do too much can get you into trouble, especially against a pitcher that is not overpowering and is going back and forth with his fastball at 88, 89, and his changeup. Just trying to stay in the middle of the field and span. He just missed that. Another routine fly ball out to right. We mentioned it with Estrada. He's a fly ball pitcher. and they just have not been able to square it up yet.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of those type of swings and those kind of results where the swing looks good, getting good contact, but you look up in the fourth inning and all of a sudden you haven't got a hit yet. What about a guy like Trevor Hoffman, who lived off that changeup? Is that a guy you go up looking changeup, or is that just impossible with that kind of plus pitch?
Faced him a couple of times. His changeup, I think you can. Look, he's a Hall of Famer, and I think you can look for his changeup and you're still in trouble.
Right.
I think your best chance is to just stay on the fastball. And if he throws you 3 changeups in a row, you go back to the dugout. But what you don't want to do is miss the fastball, because his changeup is why he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I saw those 3 changeups, Mike, and I walked back to the dugout.
It happens, right?
It's really good.
Sometimes, sometimes you just have to give in, and you have to give up something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble, and you're not always going to be right. But you have to make it. You have to make some changes, and you have to maybe even change the way you're thinking during an at bat.
That's that conversation probably happening with the Blue Jays dugout, or even the pregame, the hitters meeting you're talking about with James Paxton, the guy with plus stuff. But if he doesn't have that feel, you see there was situations in this game where he didn't have that feel for that breaking ball. Sit fastball, sit dead red. We saw that the first game of the year. The Cleveland Indians hit James pretty well, especially lefties too, and they just eliminated pitches. And you could see that from time to time when he didn't have that good feel for that breaking ball. That pitch just floats up into the strike zone.
And he locates it. He located that one very well on the outside corner. Talked about middle of the plate before, but seemingly he's dialing in that changeup in better locations.
Well, there's a changeup that was in the middle of the plate, but it was not down out of the strike zone. It's still out in front of it, though.
A couple of changeups, probably going to, my guess would be, try to pop that fastball upper part of the zone.
Yep, there's the highest strike. That was a better pass at the high fastball that time, and I think it was because it was out over the plate.
Yeah.
A little bit easier to get the barrel to it.
And he mixes that in on you. Good breaking ball.
Check in with Angie.
Guys, thanks so much. Pat Casey was here to throw out the first pitch at tonight's Mariners game, and also to set the rumor to rest that he is retiring. Now, one of his former players will be on the hill for the Toronto Blue Jays tomorrow, Sam Gaviglio. And he's a former Beaver, also a former Mariner on the other side of things. Mike Leake, after his 9th win, he's going to be making his 4th career start against Toronto. He is 2-1 against them, including a start earlier this season and a win in that start. Guys?
Thank you, Angie. Nelson Cruz, his second at bat. He's been the only base runner for the Mariners. Worked a walk his first time up. That is crushed out towards center. Pilar working his way towards the fence, and yep, he's going to catch it right in front of the fence. Thought it had a chance. But again, the Mariners still looking for their first hit as we move into the bottom or the top of the 5th. Welcome back to Safeco Field, top of the 5th inning. James Paxton still on the mound. He's had to throw a lot of pitches, although a little bit encouraging in the 4th inning. Just threw 10 pitches to get through the 4th. And he's going to need a couple of those, Ryan, to get deeper into this ball game.
Yeah, quicker innings, and just that's that 0-0 early in the count. The command we're talking about.
This ball is driven out towards left. Like it's a breaking ball. It was left up in the zone and goes into the Mariner bullpen. For Diaz, his 13th home run on the year.
Just to finish that thought, that's that breaking ball we're talking about. We're having the command of that means having that good feel, that out in front, that extension. You hear Pax talk about that a ton. Right now he's just getting on the side of that pitch and you're seeing it spin up in the strike zone.
And the location of it, it's just middle for Diaz, his 2nd home run in the series.
Yeah, that ball belt maybe even a little higher. To me, that's the elevation on that curveball is what hurt him on that pitch. If that pitch is more down knee, he might get a swing and miss.
It looks like it's going to be a base hit out into right. Yep, Haniger will have to play it, keep it right in front of him, hold him to a single. A couple of base hits, that one off the end of the bat.
We talked about the bottom of the order. You look at Toronto's bottom of the order now, a couple of runs down there in the bottom 3rd of the order, and that's really big for you if you're a ball club getting that production at the bottom part of your batting order.
Right. When you're starting and you're going out there and you're working your way through the game, and we just mentioned with James the 10 pitches in the 4th inning, and having to deal with the middle of the lineup, and now you've done that. Do you think, well, I should have a pretty quick inning again because now I have the bottom of the order? Do you think that way, or is it just still trying to just execute pitches? Pretty good play by Mike Zunino right there on a fastball that got away from him.
I think for tonight with Pax, I think it's more about him. Frustration, even though he's not showing it a whole lot right now, but there's some frustration with him because the amount of contact and the good, comfortable swings. This is something you guys talked about, pressing the reset button from game to game with your swing, not trying to do too much. You're 78 pitches into this outing. You're in the 5th inning, and this is that time where you just have to say, all right, 0-0, I'm going to get ahead in the count, and I'm just going to keep it simple, get that extension, not worry so much about am I on the side of that slider, am I not burying that curveball. Just go out and just keep attacking, because if you start to over-process now, and Pax is guilty of it at times, there you go. There's a good slider down the strike zone, good extension, good velocity on that too. If he starts to over-process, that's when he can get in trouble. So this is a time where you salvage the end of this game, and look, they're only down by 3. You look up, you glance at that pitch count, you're at 80 pitches in the 5th. That's something you salvage and say, you know what, I'm going to finish strong right here. Give my team a chance early enough in this game to get back in this one.
Randall Grichuk, the leadoff hitter. Had a base hit his last time up and scored a run.
And even that swing right there, when you see a swing like that 60 feet away, you know that it's straight guess mode from Grichuk. Guessing straight fastball on that pitch, nowhere near that ball.
The bat shatters, but a base hit into right field. Drury will wait at second base, but again, right off the end of the bat, like a pitch that's probably right on the outside corner, maybe even off the plate. Just shatters, and it'll be a base hit the other way. James in a little bit of trouble now.
You bring up a good point, Ryan. It seems like with pitchers, a lot of the times they kind of go to mechanics as a way to kind of fix things instead of a mental approach or a change in thinking. And it's interesting you say that because a lot of times it is your mechanics are there, everything's there. It's just a shift in your thinking.
Yeah, and I think too, and you start to go back throughout the game, those pitches that usually guys miss by a foot, they're putting good swings on them, and that's where the over process comes in. Like you start to ask why. The minute you ask why 60 feet away, that's when you're in trouble.
Well, I think another thing that I was thinking about is how difficult it is to throw a no-hitter when you see that last base hit.
Right.
It's a pitch right where he wanted to throw it, shatters his bat, but he just dumps it into right field for a base hit. I don't think they've changed their approach at all from when he threw his no-hitter. They were aggressive then. They've been aggressive tonight. They're just coming with more base hits. It looks like a double play ball. That'll certainly help. Nice play by Kyle Seager. Moving into the bottom of the third, or the bottom of the fifth. There, they get some offense going. Fifth is brought to you by Heritage Distilling BSB Brown Sugar Bourbon. You can't spell baseball without BSB. Blue Angels, of course, been around all week, practicing earlier today. Mariners looking for a base hit. Kyle Seager going to lead things off. It'll be Seager, Healy, and Maben due up here in the bottom of the fifth.
Well, guys, if it helps, last Players Cast we did, we had to come from behind to win a ball game.
Yes.
Let's get that started right here. Get it going.
Let's get it started with a leadoff base hit. How about that, Dan?
All right.
Another high fly ball out to center field. That time it was a fastball at 87 right in the middle of the plate. He has not changed a thing. The high fastball and the changeup, probably most of them down out of the strike zone, not trying to throw it for a strike. To your point earlier, Dan, throwing it on the plate but down.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it difficult because there's the speeds that we were talking about earlier, but now you're looking at two different areas of the strike zone because the fastball is a strike at the top of the zone, and then adjusting with the changeup down out of the strike zone.
Yeah, it's been a great combination for him, and you've seen some swings way out front. And you've seen some high fly balls on that fastball, so he's done a good job. He is as advertised tonight for sure.
I was talking to Manny Acta today, bench coach for Scott Service, and Scott obviously been working really hard trying to get these guys going offensively along with Edgar. Ground ball over to third doesn't appear to be a problem. But the thing with Scott, which all good managers are, is that they want to be the same every single day as he goes around and talks to everybody. But Manny, who's a great baseball man, he's been in the game for a long time. I asked him today, what do you do in a situation like this? And he said a lot of the same. Work his way through the clubhouse earlier in the day, talk to the guys on the bench, continue to just try to stay positive with them, knowing that things typically like this are going to work themselves out and you get things going. But again, it's been another tough night right here for the offense. They have to find a way to get to Estrada and at least get him in the stretch. Yeah,
absolutely. Bench coaches, I think, play a huge role. And you know, Ryan, you mentioned something earlier about pitchers and catchers being that calming effect behind the plate. I think bench coaches, that's a big part of their job.
Yes,
not letting guys panic. The good ones that I've had over the years, the Lee Elias, the John McLarens, they were the same guy every day. You know, they came in, they give guys a hard time, keep you loose, but they really wanted to just project to you that, hey, we're going to be fine. We'll just go out and take care of business.
And another quick inning for Estrada. A couple of ground balls and a fly ball. And move to the top of the 6th.
We're headed to the 6th. Mariners still looking for their first hit in this one. Blue Jays lead at 3-0. Right now it's time for our Geico. This date in MLB history. You guys were talking about John McLaren back on August 4th, 2001. Of course, he was the bench coach back then. The Mariners improved to 80-30 with an 8-5 win over the Indians. Freddie Garcia picked up his 13th win. Dylan Wilson in that game, by the way, was 2 for 4 with a 3-run home run. You know, Dan, as a journalist covering the team back in 01, I don't remember you guys ever losing. What was it like coming to the ballpark as a player?
Well, we did lose quite a few games that year, but I tell you what, it was something pretty special, and obviously we had a great group of veteran guys, and I think the expectation was every night that we were going to win a ball game, and it wasn't really sure how we were going to do it, but we knew somebody at some point was going to do something to help us win a ball game, and it was such a pleasure and a relief to have so many veterans together on one team and guys doing their job. What a fantastic year it ended up being.
It was an historic year, and for myself, just getting started, I was doing pre and post game work on the radio, and that was the first team that I had a chance to watch on a daily basis, and I thought, man, this is easy. these guys, to Angie's point, these guys win every day. There's a ground ball out to Segura. It's good to see another ground ball out for Paxton. But Dan, it's one of those things where, you know, it seemed to me that year you guys got off to such a fast start, and you mentioned the veterans on that team, but it just seemed that it just kind of snowballed and built on itself to where you really, from what I can remember, really didn't have any long losing streaks at all, winning 116 games.
Yeah, I think it was at some point. It was late in the year. I can't remember quite what the date was, but it was, I think, well into July or August before we had lost 2 games in a row. Wow. So it was one of those situations where we would lose and we'd come right back and win, you know, 1 or 2 or 3, you know, multi games in a row. And we just, you're right, it did build on itself. I don't think anybody expected it. We got out of the gate really fast. Yeah, but it just continued to go. And what a great group of guys and veterans, and I think that was the key. We all had our roles, we all had jobs to do, so to speak, on the field every night, and we went out and did it. And, you know, from starters to bullpen, we had it all. And it helps to have a lot of all-stars on that team. Yeah, well, we have a lot of really good players. They have a lot of really good players on that team. A couple of quick outs for James. Wow. It's good to see.
In case you guys are wondering, I was fresh off the Qantas jet, 18 years old in rookie ball, flicking on SportsCenter every night and just looking up going, oh man, the Mariners, man, I'm in the right organization. These guys are studs. They never lost. This is awesome. That was crazy. And you had the, like you said, the 9 All-Stars playing here at Safeco Field.
Yep.
Awesome.
I think Cal Ripken hit one into the bullpen.
He did.
They have a plaque out there to this day.
James still has a good fastball, 96, 97.
He's up to 92 pitches now. Dan, do you think that maybe this is one of those nights where they try to get as much out of Pax as you can? 82 pitches his last time out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they do have an outstanding bullpen. There's no question about that. But, you know, Pax has kind of settled in here. He gave up the solo home run last inning, but much better stuff this particular inning. And like you mentioned, the lower pitch count last game, I would expect maybe 110 pitches or so from Pax tonight.
And this is the inning too. You're starting to see a lot less comfortable swings from guys that breaking ball inside the strike zone. This is a situation where Pax may have bought himself that 7th inning, purely off what he's done right now. Look at that swing.
It's impressive. A couple of strikeouts for James Paxton here in the top of the 6th, but the Jays still ahead 3-0.
Welcome back to Safeco Field. 3-0 Blue Jays on top. MLB.TV is now available at a lower price for just $59.99. Watch every out-of-market regular season game. Plus, get a free subscription to MLB At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV to take advantage of this special offer. Guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Oakland, it is a final over the Tigers 2-1.
That is something that we saw a lot of in the first half with the Mariners. Look at the A's right now. They are 21-9 in one-run games this year. Mike gets the ball down towards the corner. Going to keep it fair. It's just foul, but 21-9 in one-run games. So got to turn things around, and that's why it's so critical for this Mariners club to get their offense going. They have to get them going again. And, you really don't at this point, because you had the lead, and now obviously it's gone with the way that the A's have played. You have to get things turned around quickly. Yeah, and
I think there's no question the A's are a big story, and they've done an incredible job to get to the position they're in. But let's not forget, I mean, the Mariners really still do have everything in front. They play the A's, what, 10 more times? They play Houston 10 more times. So really, to your point, Mike, important for these guys to get back on track, and then, get back to where they were playing earlier in the year. So when they go up against Oakland, they go up against Houston, they're that formidable force that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and you know what, too, when you look at the Oakland A's and you break them down, look, they're on a crazy run right now. An amazing July. Chris Davis hit another home run. He's on an absolute tear. But you got to ask yourself, is this sustainable? It's August 4th, too. This is a situation where it feels like it's September 20th, and all of a sudden, it's at the end of the road. There is a lot of baseball to be played, and again, these guys are going to match up still quite a few times before the season ends.
I thought that again, speaking to Manny Acta today, I thought he said something to me as Mike battles his way through. This will be the 7th pitch coming up, but Manny said something that I thought was a real key. And again, Manny has been around this game his entire life, but he said, you know what we cannot worry about is what the A's are doing right now. We can't worry about what the postseason looks like. We can't worry about any of those things. We have to fix our own house and get things moving in the right direction for us, and the rest of it will take care of itself. And I think that's the right message to have for the guys. We can talk about it, of course, that's our job, that's what we're supposed to do. And the fans are certainly watching it, and they should. But for the players themselves, they can't think that way when you're trying to get things back on track.
Yeah, it is easy to press that panic button real quick, even August 4th. It's a great at-bat, Mike Zunino.
And that's the pitch you were talking about, Dan, laying off that fastball. It's easier said than done, but going to work the count to full. We'll see what he wants to do.
I'll tell you what.
There you see the EQC tracer. That pitch is off the plate, and Mike is letting him know about it. He is not happy. And that's key in this at bat. He instead of walking to first, leading the inning off with a walk, it gives him the strike, and this pitch is off the plate away. It looks like a cutter.
We talked about Russell Martin. He's a magician back there with doing what he does. As is Mike Zunino. He ranks very well also. But I'll tell you what, we've seen that curveball a couple of times from Estrada, both for called strikes that I can remember. Kind of a dark horse pitch for him tonight. It's been one that's really kind of helped him out quite a bit.
Yeah, it's been in situations, that sneaky pitch, that third pitch of his, where he's gone back and forth, foul ball, and then all of a sudden he can just kind of sneak that in for a different look.
Yep.
But that's a pitch too. Mike Zunino obviously was off the plate. You could see that from the tracer, but that's a pitch that if that pitch is middle, it's still freezing Mike, because again, like you said, you barely see it, and then out of nowhere, he's dropping that pitch in.
Well, guys, the quickest way to turn a no-hitter around is to start talking about a no-hitter. We haven't really mentioned it too much.
We're helping him out. And Dan, you did mention the last time 3 players were in the booth, the last player cast. It was the 6th inning. The Mariners were down at, what, 3-0 against Michael Fulmer, who looked nasty. I think it all happened with 2 outs, too.
I'm going to pop up in the middle of the infield. It looks like Justin Smoke will handle it.
You feel like, too, when you are going through these offensive struggles, it's just hard to have base runners. Obviously, tonight's a pretty glaring example of that. But a guy like Gene Segura, 241 on-base percentage, which is and hitting 216 since the All-Star break. Guys like Gene Segura at the top of the lineup, being on base, creating that traffic. Obviously, D. Gordon's out of the lineup. It just seems so tough just to get that traffic and those base runners on.
And a fly ball out to left field. Swinging at the first pitch fastball on the inside corner. So Estrada is on a roll right now. Just 81 pitches to get through 6 innings.
Three 3-0 as the sun sets here in the Pacific Northwest. Hey, get Sounder Train and Link Light Rail tickets right to your phone. Paying is easy with the Transit Go ticket app. Hey guys, this no-hitter thing is not nearly as much fun on this side of it.
I would absolutely agree with that, Angie. Excellent call. James, 95 pitches, but they're going to send him right back out there again. We thought this might be the case. Start of the inning, 95 pitches, 70 strikes for Paxton.
I think that 6th inning really gained him that 7th, how efficient he was and how sharp he was, and also the reaction from some of the swings from the Blue Jays hitters. That's something that Scott Service, the way he manages his bullpen, he used them a lot, but just watching his horse out there, James Paxton, giving him a chance to go back out for the 7th and build off what he's been doing.
And a base hit up the middle. Again, weak contact, but finds a base hit. Seen this a few times tonight. You can see Segura playing over towards the hole and off the end of the bat, right back up the middle. Bring up Diaz. He had a home run out to the bullpen his last time up. A couple of home runs for Diaz in the series.
Packs at 99 pitches right now. Tui Vilala warming up in the Mariners bullpen.
99 pitches, but still 96 miles an hour on the heater. Still got a good fastball.
I think for James, he definitely wanted to go back out there too, hoping to get some run support here. Is it 100 pitches so far? Another double play.
There it is, outstanding.
It's been a friend of his tonight. Kyle Seager starting 3 of the double plays tonight. It's the 4th double play for the Jays.
It's that slider, the same one that Diaz hit out, that pitch staying up in the strike zone, but this time getting Diaz to hit over that ball. And it's always a good feeling, as juvenile as this might sound, that the guy takes you deep. Next time out, you either want to punch him out or get him to roll over that bad pitch. Let him know who's boss.
For James, his season high as far as the pitch count goes is 117. It was back in May against the Tigers. Seems that he has gone to his curveball more than the slider. Maybe a better feel for it, or maybe just because of the change of speeds with how aggressive they have been.
Yeah, and there's been some big counts where that slider has gotten him into trouble, especially early in the count. Even Devin Travis last at bat.
Fly ball out to right. Looks like Haniger will be able to handle it. Yep, another good inning for James Paxton, but he needs to get some offense. Mariners going into the bottom of the 7th inning, still down 3-0, looking for their first hit.
Here, an absolutely gorgeous night at Safeco Field. While you stretch, just imagine what you can do with a win from Washington's Lottery. Play today. All right, guys. Now's a good time. Right now. Now is a good time to end the no-hitter.
Now would be a great time.
Great part of the order too. Yep.
Yeah. You think they know this guy's throwing a no-hitter?
I think they know he's throwing a no-hitter.
Okay.
You know what we've seen tonight?
Can we start yelling down at that dugout or what? Hey guys.
we've seen a lot of towering fly balls, and we mentioned it with Estrada. Might find the gap with Denard span. Maybe a start.
Gapper.
Oh, ran it down. Grichuk in right field showing a lot of speed. This is heading out to the Root Sports sign, and he's still able to run it down.
Mike, you talked about it earlier in the game, especially off of Denard's span. He was finding the barrel, it's just getting it up in the air. That one
was more
found the barrel and it was on the line, but it just hung up just long enough.
I was just thinking about that with these guys. So many towering fly balls. Really, what it comes down to sometimes, Dan, is trying to find a way to get one more grain on there.
That's right.
Get it more, to square it up just a little bit more. And that's how fine it can be at times, especially for a guy that is throwing 88 with a changeup and he's a fly ball pitcher. There it is, right down the line on a changeup. Okay. Everybody take a deep breath, a sigh of relief. There we go. There's D. Gordon, he's into it. Mitch Haniger, we're talking about it. He's been playing much better lately. Primera Supermo in the swing by Mitch. Again, a changeup, and he lets it travel. That actually jams him a little bit. That's part of the process we were talking about earlier. They're trying to stay in the middle of the field. There was a changeup that was in, and that's the reason why he pulled it. They let the ball travel.
Yeah, we talked about the changeup being more on the middle of the plate earlier in the ball game. That one had a little run to it, and Haney found it to his liking. Didn't get the barrel to it, but he got enough of the bat to it and hit it in the right spot, and that's what it takes.
And I think, again, we were talking about earlier, maybe sitting in between a little bit more to get him more on the changeup. Nelson Cruz is going to stand, and he's probably had two of the best at bats. He worked the walks, laid off of some pitches that were borderline, and just missed hitting a home run. Ended up hitting out to center field. Pilar caught it right in front of the fence.
You see the pitch quality here from Estrada these next couple at bats. First time, you got to think he's been out there for a couple hours now. First time in the stretch. It is tough when you're in the windup for a long time, and all of a sudden you have to switch it up and come out of the stretch.
Well, they're going to get somebody loose in the bullpen with 84 pitches. Even with that last pitch, looked like the changeup again, but it was left it up in the zone.
Yeah. Estrada got away with a pitch in that situation, but that's what that good changeup back and forth can do. You can get away with a mistake. You can see Russell Martin wanted that pitch up, elevated. You can see he's frustrated with a two-little head shake. He's pitching in the seventh with one hit. He's still shaking his head over that.
Well, I think that, you know, when it's Nelson Cruz and you make a mistake, that ball can end up a long way from home plate, and he hit it hard. He just hit it right at the shortstop on the ground, but he was trying to go up and in and didn't get it there at all.
Ryan Tepera getting loose in the pen for the Jays. Kyle Seager, a couple fly balls to center field.
Yeah, you talk about making that mistake, and you see Estrada shaking his head, a little bit frustrated over it. Got to admit, there's a few guys in the big, well, there's a lot of guys in the big leagues who owned me. Anytime I'd make that mistake, I'd give the old token head shake like I'm frustrated, but deep down I was kind of giving that fist bump saying, yeah, that was nice.
It's interesting though, isn't it, Ryan? Sometimes too, some nights you go out there and you know you're making some mistakes, but you're getting away with it.
Yeah, I think that's all establishing certain pitches to get those bad swings in the strike zone.
Well, that was a changeup up again, and Kyle tried to lose it. Poor Seager has 16 home runs on the year. A couple of outs here in the inning, and we tried to get him on the scoreboard. It's interesting to see the off-speed pitches now above the belt. Not quite finishing like he was before.
That's just fatigue setting in.
Another one right there from Gut. Well, Mariners able to pick up a base hit, but now trying to get on the scoreboard through 7 innings. Estrada beating the Mariners 3-0.
With the Blue Jays leading at 3-0. Hey, thanks to KeyBank, all kids 14 and under can have the opportunity of a lifetime when they take a lap around the bases at Safeco Field. Your next chance to do so is tomorrow after the Mariners face the Blue Jays at 1:10. Get tickets for the whole family at mariners.com. Best of all, Tucker's the little ones out. Right now we take a look at James Paxton's line for the evening. He goes 7 innings, allows the 8 hits, the 3 runs. The Maple Grove up in the 300 level got a solid workout in with the 7 strikeouts, and he ends up throwing 105 chucks. Right now it's time for our Beacon Plumbing call to the pen.
We're going to get another chance to see Sam Tuivailala. Just got traded over from the St. Louis Cardinals. 3rd time out, 3.41 ERA. Opponent's hitting 275 against them. And it's that kind of night.
Yeah. We saw the broken bat hit earlier by Toronto, and that one really, Kyle's got.
There's no play.
There's no play either way. And probably smart to let this one try to roll foul, but it hits the bag.
Yeah, at this point he was just hoping it would hit the cut of the grass and go foul, but it didn't work out. He wasn't going to have a play at first. Pilar runs well, the center fielder for the Jays.
Pilar 11 out of 12 in stolen bases, so the Mariners will have to keep an eye on him over there.
Good fastball at 96 miles an hour. Straighten him up. Expecting him to pull the ball on the infield and the outfield. Maven shading towards left center. Closer to the line, Segura towards the hole.
So the double play has been the Mariners' friend tonight. Hopefully Sam can induce one right here.
Tuivailala, good fastball in the inner part of the plate against a guy who has just been up there hunting fastballs in a little bit more of a guess mode tonight. Tuivailala with that 95, average 95 mile per hour fastball. Good Good movement on that pitch. He'll throw a curveball around 80 miles per hour. And that hard slider to 88, 89.
Devin Travis, he has been a problem for the Mariners. A couple of hits tonight. Into a double play his last time up. And a good fastball. His first couple of outings, Ryan, we saw him. He was 94-ish, topping out at 96, but he's consistent with his 96 tonight.
Yeah, I was talking to Brian DeLunas, who is trying to get to know him, being his bullpen coach, and just talking about how Tuivalala said when things aren't quite going right for him, the ball starts to straighten out mechanically. It looks like he's got that good movement on that fastball, that good two-seam run down and into the right-handed hitters.
I had a chance to talk to Mel Stottlemyre today about Sam and said he really loves the movement that he gets on his fastball and the fact that it is mid-90s. You get a mid-90s fastball with some movement. You're going to see a lot of those bat particles flying around like we just saw on that last guy.
Pilar takes off and picked the right pitch. That was on a slider down and away. It would have been a tough pitch for Mike Zunino to throw on. Pretty good jump by Pilar.
Well, you mentioned the jump, Mike, and guys will try to pick counts expecting breaking ball. Breaking ball, obviously a slower pitch. It's going to give him a little more time to get to second base, and that one in the dirt, a tough pick for a tough play all around for Mike Zunino.
This has been interesting in this at bat. There's been a couple of times, it'll be a wild pitch, but watching Mike set up on the inside corner and Sam throwing the fastball away, just pulling the ball across his body.
I think a lot of times, Ryan, you come to a new ball club and pitchers and catchers, they take a little while to get to know each other, and that's one of those things. Mike getting to know Sam, maybe he's going to set up more in the middle of the plate.
Plus, you're trying to do a little bit too much too. You know, you come in, you're excited about winning, and new faces, trying to impress a little bit. Especially when you see some of these young guys. We saw that with Ryan Healy too at the beginning of the season. You know, he's an established guy. He's a guy that's proven that he can hit at this level. Sam has obviously proven that he can pitch at this level in big situations. It's amazing what can happen when you just try to impress just a little bit too much.
I don't mind that at all, going with a couple of sliders, 3-1 slider for a strike, missing with the slider right there. But I think with the way that Travis has swung the bat over the first 3 games, he's been hot and swinging the bat well, seeing the ball pretty good shape. And Smoke, who's standing in, he can be a dangerous hitter. He has 17 home runs, but he does not run well, and an opportunity to get a double play ball and hopefully get out of the inning with a runner at third. Going to have to find the strike zone though. 11 pitches, just 4 strikes so far. And then unfortunate, trying to throw strikes in that last pitch. It would look like it was a fastball, and it was right in the middle of the plate. You can see he's frustrated by it.
This is a fastball middle too, and this is a situation. Justin Smoke, who has matured a lot. We saw him here in 2010, big trade coming over from Cliff Lee, young guy who was still trying to figure out his at-bats, and obviously he has done that. But he knows that he's on that on-deck circle. He saw a couple of those pitches go to the back into the backstop past the catcher, knowing that he's struggling with his command and knowing that he can hunt that fastball. It's going to be middle.
Started Hernandez off with a slider, but it was up and in the middle of the plate.
Good fastball in off the plate there. Looking for that double play, Mike. Probably a good situation. He's got a pretty good feel for that slider. Maybe he goes slider here to try to get that ground ball.
Yeah, try to get him to roll over. It takes off running. Strong throw by Mike.
Huge. Outstanding throw from Z. Had to get rid of it quick. Any base stealer will tell you that third base is a lot easier to steal because you can get a good jump. Z puts it right where he needs to. Kyle with a nice tag, a very quick tag. And it looks like they do just.
See if they want to take a look at it, but it's a quick tag. Almost as if he brought his hand back a little bit. But Mike has done an excellent job this year throwing out runners, and that will be a caught stealing.
It's no easy play with a right-handed hitter too, Mike, and a big reason why Travis went because of that right-handed hitter. But Mike doing a nice job of getting rid of it quick and putting it right on the money.
Do you have to clear yourself?
You do have to clear yourself.
Because the hitter doesn't have to get out of the way.
And the hitter has to kind of stay in the box, and you either have to go behind the hitter or some guys can go up over the top.
Good strikeout. So it looked like it was going to be a tough inning. Sam just gives up the one run, but it's getting late in this ball game, moving to the bottom of the 8th. Bears still trying to find their offense.
T-Mobile's built for baseball, and in his last start, Marco Estrada did not record a strikeout for the first time in his career as a starter. A much different story tonight. He has allowed just one hit. Hey guys, what is it going to take for the Mariners to get to this guy?
They're trying to figure out right now, and Mitch Haniger picking up a base hit, that takes a lot of pressure off at that point, but you have 6 outs to work with, Dan, to try to score some runs.
Yeah, I think you said it best, Mike. They got to get one grain on those fastballs, one more grain on those fastballs up in it. We mentioned that the changeup's starting to get a little more elevation to it. Hopefully they can get some guys on base and somebody pops a long one.
Well, Estrada right now, he's at 90 pitches. They have somebody up in the bullpen, a right-hander getting loose. I think if he gets in any trouble at all, he'll go to the pen right away. Earlier in the game, 2-0, 3-1. He was typically going to go to his changeup, and now he's up 4-0 late. And one thing he wants to do is stay away from the walks. We'll see if he'll challenge him. 2-0. And he comes right back with a changeup. So not changing his game plan at all, but a good at bat so far for Healy.
But that had been that changeup 2-0 that he'd be able to command inside the strike zone. Good quality pitch. Here we go. Get some traffic.
Good at bat, good patient at bat, and Gibbons out of the dugout quickly. He's going to go right to the bullpen. Slow walk out to the pen, and Ryan Tepera will take over for the Jays as they're leading this one in the bottom of the 8th inning, 4-0.
Sports is brought to you by Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. By Jack in the Box. This season, a Mariners double play means free jumbo jacks from Jack in the Box. By CenturyLink, connecting you to the power of the digital world. And by BNSF Railway, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. Well, thank goodness Marco Estrada's day is finally done. The Blue Jays lead this one 4-0. You take a look at what he was able to do. He goes 7 innings, throws 93 pitches. He's got the 4 strikeouts. Guys, this is crazy. Did you realize that he had a 1-hit, 7 innings pitch, scoreless start in his last appearance here at Safeco Field? Weird.
Wow. Obviously, he's really comfortable here, Angie. Danny, how about Ryan Tepera?
Well, John Gibbons goes to Ryan Tepera. You see, it's his 47th game on the year, the .355 earned run average. He's given up 6 home runs on the year. And Ryan will use that fastball and complement it with a slider. There's a good mid-90s fastball there on the inside part of the plate. That one coming off the plate, but getting the call.
We've seen that happen a number of times. Typically, it's been on the pitch away. Pretty good slider at 88 miles an hour.
This is pretty much the polar opposite to Marco Estrada when you look at the stuff-wise. Mid-90s fastball, pitches purely off that fastball with that slider, hard slider from Ryan Tepera. And really, I think this is a better matchup for this lineup than what they saw in Estrada.
There you go. Base hit into the gap. And Healy's going to work his way around to third. Piece of hitting by Maben, staying on the slider. Looked like it was a well-located slider. Knowing that he has a good fastball at 95, 97 miles an hour, and this is on the outside corner and down. Didn't try to do too much with it. Kind of cut his swing off so he didn't roll over it. The Mariners all of a sudden have a little something going here in the 8th inning. First and third, nobody out.
Wow, I really like that piece of hitting right there. That's just some good bat control, some good barrel control. Get the barrel to the ball. And you know, it's interesting point you bring up, Ryan. I really, you know, sometimes when you're struggling and you can't find your footing offensively, the guy that throws the changeups and changes speeds on you and locates, those guys can be maddening. But here's Tepera now, more of a traditional right-handed pitcher with the fastball slider. Maybe this is what turns the table for the Mariners. Yeah,
especially to Marco Estrada. He's a guy that if you can get to early, you're in good shape. But if he establishes that fastball and gets in the back of the hitters' heads and that pitch is always available to him in any count, it can be really tough. Ryan Tepera, I played with him back in 2014. I was with the Blue Jays for a month, actually in AAA. And this is the kid who just tried to throw it as hard as he could, and he kept getting frustrated. He kept asking why can't he get that call up to the big leagues, and I guess he figured it out. He's been on a good run, but this is a guy that's going to make a ton of mistakes, and that's why this matchup's good for the Mariners right now.
Well, one of the other things too is we talked about the good fastball with him in his first half of the season. The Mariners coming from behind late innings. I asked Edgar about it, and he said that the biggest reason why is that they're able to hit a good fastball up and down their lineup. So maybe this is a better matchup, Ryan, that you were talking about. There's a fastball probably in off the plate. Chris Herman has come out on deck. Look at the swing from Mike. Fastball running in on his hands. Right on the handle. Gets him with the slider. Chris Herman will hit for Andrew Romine. Take a look at the standings. The Mariners again trying to chase the A's. A's winning tonight 2-1, so the Mariners a couple games behind them right now, right at the moment. See if Chris himself a fastball in the middle of the plate.
Not to get too stats heavy on you guys, we are players after all. Mariners #1 in Major League Baseball average versus average against opposing bullpens. There you go. How about that? How are those numbers for you?
I like it.
Yeah.
And for Chris, he can hit a fastball. Gordon with his glove on. Pinch hitting for Andrew Romine. He was playing second base, so it's D will go in and play defense. Powering fly ball out to center field. Just deep enough to score Ryan, or if they'll try him. They are. They're going to send him. They're just going to throw it into second base. So the Mariners will get on the scoreboard. Chris Herman pick up an RBI on a sacrifice fly. And that'll get the Mariners back to the top of the lineup. Gene Segura standing in. As we know, Gene can hit anybody's fastball. Segura has 8 home runs on the year. Good slider.
Good depth to that slider.
Seems to have better command of his slider than the fastball.
Yeah, the fastball's kind of spraying a little bit, but his slider's been pretty consistent on that outside corner to right-handed hitters, and he's finding the depth in it right now.
Back with a fastball for a strike.
That's the difference too. Ryan DePera. Pitches like that elevated fastball really has no effect, and that's the difference. Marco Estrada, even when he missed, it had some kind of effect on the pitch right after that, and this is the difference, and this is why this matchup could be good even when he's in good counts.
What a jump by Maven. Unfortunately, another slider for a strike. Before the Mariners able to get on the scoreboard, we will move to the top of the 9th inning. The Mariners down 3.
I'd like to welcome Frontier subscribers from Seattle and Portland. Thank you for rooting on the Seattle Mariners. All of us at Root Sports and the Mariners appreciate your support. Hey, make sure that you make your voices heard. Right now, Toronto Blue Jays leading this 4-1. How do you do that? Well, you nominate your favorite plays of the week by tweeting us with the hashtag RootFanFave. Watch the Mariners pregame show every Sunday to find out your fan favorite plays of the week. Plus, each month, one lucky fan will win a Coors Light Yeti cooler just for participating. For the official rules, visit rootsports.com. Some news coming out of the division, guys. Skipper Mike Scioscia's 19-year run is the longest since Bobby Cox managed the Braves for 21 years, and apparently that is long enough. He has apparently announced that he will be stepping down at the end of the season. To put this in perspective, 111 other managers have held a job since he took over, 131 if you want to include interim. But that is pretty impressive and a pretty impressive reign, considering what he's been able to do with the Angels.
Well, you're right about that. It's a bit surprising, really. The Angels have had their struggles this year, but Scioscia 19th season as a manager for the Angels. Some interesting defensive changes for the Mariners. We thought it was going to be D. Gordon, but instead Chris Herman, who had pinch hit for Andrew Romine, who started at second, will play first base. Ryan Healy will go from first to third, and Kyle Seager third to second.
You see James Pazos taken over. Second time in a couple nights. Pitched back on August 2nd, a couple days ago. And look at the numbers. He's had a good year overall. He's struggled a little bit of late. Good fastball, mid-90s. The velo's dropped a little bit. 225 on the year. 248 opponents hitting against him. 32 strikeouts, 6 walks. You see him in the middle of that bullpen start bridging that gap again. Mike Scioscia, I mean, it's rare how cutthroat it is for managers nowadays to see a guy stick around for 19 years in the same team. He's had some good teams too come through LA. We've seen it up close, obviously, the same division.
Always a manager that you would expect his players to play hard for him. As you see Segura gobble this up. But always a guy that got the best out of his players. And Mike, I know you will remember this defensively, but always a guy that was, or a manager that was pretty aggressive, let his guys run a little bit, put the pressure on the defense a lot. And I remember as a catcher thinking I had to be on top of my game because you never knew what to expect from a Mike Scioscia team.
I wonder if that was because he is a former catcher. He knew how difficult it was to throw guys out.
Absolutely.
I mentioned Kyle Seager moving over to second base. Last time he played second base was in September of 2012. We have seen Ryan Healy taking ground balls during batting practice at third. Of course, he played some third last year with the A's.
See James Pazos with that fastball command. He lives off that fastball and the sliders. Obviously that secondary pitch, but velo's dropped a little bit. He was usually 95, 96. We're seeing more 92s, 93s from James, whether that's fatigue or just trying to feel through those mechanics a little bit. I think too, he lost a little bit of that trust when all of a sudden, when you don't feel that good command, you try and muscle up and try and do a little bit too much with that pitch.
He has still primarily stayed with his fastball, though we haven't seen his slider a lot, probably over the last month or so. His fastball consistently 93 this evening.
3-0 fastball there to Russell Martin, and he had the green light coming out of his shoes and pulled one up in the upper deck, but foul.
Russell with 10 home runs on the year, veteran hitter. Good fastball in on his hands. This is well in off the plate. Primero Supermo in the swing by Martin. Maybe hit it off his kneecap. Looks like they're trying to walk that off.
Situation there, Ryan, where I think Pazos sees his 3-0 hack and says he's hacking 3-1 too, the same way. I'm coming in there, maybe even in off the plate, and sure enough, swinging again and fouls it right off his kneecap.
Yeah, and you don't want to walk anyone whatsoever, but that's where you have to trust that when you expand the strike zone and you expand a little bit just outside, especially a 3-1 count, you know they're going to swing, but it's about having that confidence, knowing that they're going to swing in that pitch. Even eye level from James Pazos, he's got a good fastball with really good life on it. That's where you have to get outside the strike zone.
Well, so he's going to take this one. Segura underneath it. He calls off Healy. And it will be Gene.
Good job of pitching right there to come back from 3-0 and get Martin right there.
And living off that fastball too.
Yeah.
Ken Giles getting loose in the pen for the Jays. Saw Giles last night. Hard throwing right-hander. A lot of sliders from him last night.
There's that good fastball down and away. It's interesting too, watching a guy like James Pazos. You look at him and say he's got that good life in his fastball, left on left, but the splits are the other way. Righties are hitting 232, lefties hitting 273. Again, too, when you live off that velocity on that fastball, which he does, and you're popping 92s, 93s, whether it's a fatigue thing or it could be just that time of the year or whatever it may be, you do go through stretches where that velocity isn't quite there. It's so tough not to glance up at that radar gun and try and do a little bit too much. Hate to admit it, but it happens a ton.
And Diaz having a good series. Already a couple of home runs, and this will be extra bases down into the corner. Easy double. With a couple of outs, they're going to end up getting a runner in scoring position, and it looked as if it was on the fastball again. Primero Supermo in the swing by Diaz. Barrels it up. That was right on the inside corner.
We saw it earlier in the game. These guys are in swing mode, and they really have not changed too much. They just continue to swing, and that pitch, a pretty good pitch on the inside corner, but when you're in swing mode, you find a way to get the barrel to it.
There it is again. Again, right on the inside corner. D drives it. Able to keep it fair. Back-to-back fastballs on the inside corner.
Yeah, James just out over the plate. And I think this goes back to that Russell Martin at bat where he 3-1, 3-0, 3-1, and he just lived off that fastball. Didn't show that slider at all. And I think these guys, like you said, to your point, Danny, just basically jumping all over that fastball, knowing that they're going to get one or two early in the count and crush it.
Well, they've done a pretty good job hitting with runners in scoring position tonight, and that's been a big difference for them. Not leaving anybody out there. Pilar with a couple of hits, and he's scored 2 runs.
Nice frame right there by Mike Zunino. Yeah. The bottom of the zone. Zeke's just continuing to try to get as many strikes as he can for his pitchers.
There it is, that slider of his.
Down out of the strike zone.
You know, I didn't get the swing and miss, but still effective. It just puts that slider in the back of their minds, knowing that this at bat, that he can go one or two ways.
right-hander. Starting to get loose. Giles ready to go in the pen, but another righty also with him. Fastball away, fouling it straight back. Getting loose. No longer a safe situation, so I don't know if they'll bring Giles in or not. And now we have a fan that ran out on the field, so there'll be a little bit of a delay. Couple of breaking balls right around 76, 77 miles an hour.
Yeah, just trying to get that feel for that pitch, where just trying to get on top of that, just like we saw with James Paxton, get inside the side with that pitch and try and get off that fastball just a little bit, even if it's just a show me pitch too, even in the strike zone, to get Pilar off that fastball.
20 pitches so far, 11 strikes.
Haven't seen too many sliders either out of those 20 pitches, maybe only 2 or 3 that we've seen. And
that's something that I think has been fairly consistent with him over the last month or so, Dan. He has really been fastball heavy. He typically is anyway.
Right.
But he will, to your point, Ryan, show the slider if nothing else, just to give him something to think about. But that has not been the case lately. He's just basically been steady with his fastball. And his velo down a couple miles an hour tonight at 93 miles an hour.
Probably a welcome break for James Parsons, just to get his heart rate down a little bit, knowing that he's given up some hard hit balls, just to stop, just decompress. It'll be tough too. This game can speed up quick when you don't have that good feel and that life on that pitch, and get that frustration, the heart rate goes up, and you can just stop, get that breather, and just go back to making pitches. It always comes down to making pitches.
And he's got this 3-2 count here too with Pilar. You see him take a couple of warm-up tosses just to stay loose, but big pitch coming up here to Pilar, and
the delay just about over, so we see it started here in a minute. Yeah, James is ready to go, so Pilar walking back to home plate. It's tough too, because you have a delay like that. He's in a 3-2 count. He has to make a quality pitch right here. Getting loose in the pen for the Mariners. It will be Pazos trying to get out of this inning. Ball off the short. Segura has it. He's able to get the out, but the Jays will put another run on the scoreboard. Mariners down 4 going into the bottom of the 9th. And Art Span going to lead things off. Then it'll be Mitch Haniger and Nelson Cruz in the 9th.
Run after the game for Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines. We're going to head inside the clubhouse. We will hear from the skipper. We'll also try to track down James Paxton. We'll revisit Pat Casey's first pitch, and we'll get you set for the finale against the Blue Jays. It's all coming up on Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines.
And a pitching change for the Jays. It will be Ken Giles. 35 appearances on the year. High ERA, over 5, 5.12 ERA. 34 strikeouts and 31 2/3. Opponents hitting .290 against him. He's given up a couple of home runs. Fastball, slider, a plus fastball for him. His average fastball this year, 97 miles an hour. Bernard Span will lead things off.
This is one of those games, guys, where it's tough because when you're in the dugout and you still feel that pain, being ex-players, you still feel that pain from your dugout, from the guys who are out in front of you. You have that frustration. This puts you on that brink of how can you deal with it? How can these guys just press that reset button? Easier said than done, but this is that true test of that character. In that dugout right now, it's a situation where you have those conversations about what can you do? How can you get beyond a night like this? Because it was a tough one for the Mariners in the dugout right now.
Well, that's why your veteran players are so important.
I think the good news too is that you come right back and have a day game tomorrow. Not a lot of time to kind of sit and think about it. It's come right back out here tomorrow and strap it on and let's do it again, and hopefully they can get things turned around here quickly.
Yeah, the thing too is you'd like to see him put some pressure on him, score some runs, see what happens. Giles has had his issues this year. He has plus stuff, but his ERA over 5. Make him pitch a little bit.
Yeah, Giles, a guy who struggled with his command, confidence, been a huge issue when he was with the Houston Astros. Got traded over the Blue Jays, trying to figure it out, trying to press the reset button himself, and again put him on the ropes a little bit. Take some momentum into tomorrow. If you're not going to score, put up 4 runs, at least put some runs on the board and just put that momentum in for tomorrow. Bernard Span having some good swings tonight too, and that's the other part of this. You look at James Paxton, was still quality tonight. Only giving up the 3 runs. Obviously, Estrada on the other end was really good, but you have to be able to get away from the results. Don't get result orientated. Take the good things that you've taken away. We saw that with Marco Gonzalez. He did a lot of good things last night, even though he came up with a loss. Take the good things out because there's a lot of baseball left.
Here we go. There's a start.
Here we go.
I think it's a great point, Ryan, because I think there's still so much positive out there, and right now it's hard to see that because of the streak they're in, but finding the positives each and every night and taking that away when you leave the ballpark so that you can build on that tomorrow is so important.
Yeah, probably had the right guy leading things off right there too with Span, because he will be patient, especially in this situation being down in the 9th. He was going to take some pitches, work the count, and we've seen that consistently from him. And now you have a runner on base. Haniger 2 for 5 against Giles. Missed a fastball at the top of the zone. Smoke. Take care of it. Foul territory. And Nelson Cruz 0 for 2 tonight. Walk, lead things off in the 2nd inning. Flew out the center field and grounded out to short.
See if Giles can try and get ahead here with that slider and get that 2-0 count. Nelson Cruz do some damage.
All right, well, Seager is on deck.
Nelson might have tipped that pitch.
Yeah, he called it a foul ball. Slider in the dirt. Maybe a wild pitch.
Giles has, looks like to me, has got a pretty tight slider. He's been able to stay on top of it. Really has pretty good command of it on an outside corner, but you can see how tight it is. It just looks pretty sharp.
Yeah, that was that big wipeout pitch we saw in the playoffs last year with the Houston Astros. Really struggled command-wise with it this year in 2018.
There you go. And Nelson, he has been hot, hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but he squares that up to pick up a base hit. So Span will move up to third. Going to get a fastball. It's hit hard, not sure where the shortstop was at, so Span not taking any chances, down 4 runs. Chance for Kyle Seager to drive in a run.
Now with each base runner, guys, this game gets a little more interesting.
That's right.
As things go. Obviously, you know, you look at when you're late in the game, can a grand slam tie it up? Well, in this situation, a grand slam can't tie it up. So see what happens as we continue to go along here.
Get another base runner, and Ryan Healy waiting on deck. He has 21 home runs this year. Started Kyle off with an off-speed pitch just off the outside corner. That is tough right there. Kyle. Take a look at it. It's the ball hard. They're trying to hold things up. Close play at first. Scott Service holding things up. And it looks like they were able to get him. Primera Supermo. Kyle trying to beat it out. But they're not going to take a look at that. That'll be the end of the ball game. A tough way to end this game tonight. Kyle hustling as much as he can, but again, guys, it's been the same theme really overall. And for Paxton, you mentioned it's a quality start, but it's just been the offense again. They really struggled again tonight, just coming up with a few hits and the 1 run. And it's difficult when you're fighting yourself most of the time, but it appears that that's what's happening. Yeah, they really are, and there's a lot of pressing going on, a lot of tough at-bats. Marco Estrada was exceptional tonight. James Paxton, there's a lot of good to take out of that, but this is one of those situations that those conversations you have post-game, whether you get together as a group again at some point, where how can you stick with this and take the good out of every single game, even if it's a loss.
Yeah, tip your cap a little bit to Marco Estrada. He pitched a really good ball game. Had a pretty good game plan, stayed up in the zone with a heater, down with a changeup. It worked all the way through about the 7th inning, and I tell you what, he took advantage of a team that's scuffling right now offensively. But the Mariners have got to turn it around. They get an opportunity to do that tomorrow at the day game and try to get things rolling.
Yeah, thanks for tonight, guys. We really appreciate it. Brad and Val, we'll send it out to you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. 3 former Mariners in our players cast. We got a former Mariner here in Val, and you know, you've just seen their 5th straight loss for this team that ties a season high. Pretty good outing from Paxton. We hope to hear from him. The defense is pretty good with 4 double plays. That's a season high. But again, just a lack of offense just continues to hurt them.
And that's what it really comes down to. The Mariners could only muster 3 hits here tonight against Marco Estrada and the Blue Jays pitching staff. So this is something that they've got to figure it out. They've got to get a way to turn this thing around, because right now it is not looking real good. They're not having good at-bats, and they're not putting the ball in play. They're not hitting the ball squarely, Brad, and that's what you're looking for, that exit velocity, having good at-bats, hitting the ball hard.
barrel it up. They've yet to do that. And Estrada, no hitter into the 7th inning. A guy who comes in, earned run average around 5, getting it done once again. The Blue Jays have won 3 straight. They've won this series. And Devin Travis, a big reason why. 2-run single in the 3rd. That would really be all the Blue Jays need. He's having a heck of a series. 5-1, the Jays take it. Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines on the way.